is not seen. Are you seeing the contents? Okay, now we want to start on the definition of the diode. And if you see, the diode is an electronic component that primarily conduct electricity in one direction. So in this case, our lesson will be on a semiconductor diode, where we'll be discussing about the PN rectifiers, sometimes called the PN junction diode. So in the first case, we have the definition of the diode, where we define the diode as a primarily component that conducts electricity in one direction. And again, also we'll be looking at the semiconductor diode. If you see on the screen, we have the symbol of the semiconductor diode, where we have the construction, where we have the P and N type extrinsic semiconductor in the screen itself to show the construction of semiconductor diode. We also have biasing of diodes, where we have the diode under the forward bias. Under the forward bias, the P-type material is connected to the positive terminal of the supply, and the N material is connected to the P-type of the negative side of the supply. So in that case, the diode will be in terms of forward biasing. Now, if you check the positive, the reverse biasing, the terminals of the battery or the terminals of the supply is connected in a manner that the P side is negative with respect to the N side. So in that case, we form what we call the reverse bias diode. Are we getting the difference between the reverse bias and the forward bias? Yes. Now we'll be also looking at the types of diodes, and as you see, we have different types of diode depending on the construction using the PN and N-type extrinsic semiconductors. We have junction diode that we have discussed, and we have the Zener diode. So these are the types of diode that we have, and their constructions are based on the N-type and the P-type extrinsic semiconductors. So we have the tunnel diode, we have the Schottky diode, we have the varactor diode, we have the diac, we have the triac, and we have the silicon control rectifier, the SCR. Then we have the light emitting diode and the photodiode. There are very many diodes that I've not mentioned in the slides, so you can go and check other types of diode that we have. Then I'll also look at the characteristics of the semiconductor diodes, where the characteristics is the relationship between the currents and the voltages that passes through the diodes. So we have the forward characteristics and the reverse characteristics as stipulated in the screen itself. Apart from that, also we have to look at the application of semiconductor diodes. Application of semiconductor diode, there are several applications of the semiconductor diodes. One of the applications is that the diodes are used for mixing signals. And also we have, they are used to control the size of the signal. Like light emitting diodes are used in emitting spectrums of infrared lights. Switching diodes is used for requirements of the rapid switching. Then we have a photodiode. Photodiode is used as a photodetector, because, for example, when you'll be designing your project, most of the diodes will be used in the project itself. For example, we have a photodiode that will be used as detectors. Then we have rectifying diodes. For example, when you want to convert AC to DC, we are using the rectifying diode. Then we have the rectifying diode is sometimes called the PN rectifiers. So we have another application of the diodes for stabilizing the current and voltages in various electronic systems. Zener diodes and are used in that case. Then we have high frequency electronic also make use of GaN diodes as one of its components. I want somebody also to mention one of the applications of the diode that I've not mentioned. Do you have somebody with any application of the diode? Yes.
Okay, a diode can be used as a rectifier
Yes.
to convert AC to DC.
correct. That's another application of the diode. So to recap on what we have discussed about the definition of the diode, and we have discussed about the formation of the diode, where we look at the forward biasing and the reverse biasing of the diode. We also look at different types of the diode, and we look at the application of the diode at the last stage. And I want to summarize the lesson there. If everybody if anybody is having a question, you can ask now. Do you have a question? Yes, Lynn.
What's the use of
Now, if you check the different types of diode that we have the Schottky diode. The Schottky diode is sometimes used in the amplifiers. For example, when you want to eliminate some interference with the amplification signals, we have to use the Schottky diodes. And the Schottky help in eliminating, for example, unwanted signal in the modulated wave. We can use the Schottky diodes. Also, if you check, for example, in the differential amplifiers, when we are using differential amplifiers, we have the Schottky diode used in limiting some currents within the differential diode itself. Yes? Are you answered? Oh, correct. Any question? Okay, if there is no any other question, we'll end our class at that moment. If you have any question, we'll have the next class, then we'll ask. Thank you very much for attending the class.